It was when I departed from Golmud, driving alone to the hot spring station to pick up a friend. And then together, we would continue on the Qinghai-Tibet line to Lhasa. The hot spring station is 60 kilometers away from the Tangula Pass, and it's the last old rest area with accommodation available in Qinghai before crossing the Tangula Pass. Golmud is 600 kilometers away from the Tangula Pass, and it normally takes 12 hours to drive there. So I set off early in the morning from Golmud to avoid driving at night on the plateau. Well, the truth is, the Qinghai-Tibet Highway is in quite good condition, with no cliffs or precipices along its sides. The main challenge of driving on this route is the high altitude. If you happen to encounter special weather, such as heavy snowfall, then due to the high altitude, you might need to put chains on your car wheels. If you're lucky enough to catch a clear sky after a snowstorm, I bet you'll be in great spirits, as the scenery outside the car window will be so beautiful that it'll make you want to hum a cheerful tune. On the high-altitude Qinghai-Tibet road, it gives you a feeling of unity between heaven and earth. It was this very unity of heaven and earth that later taught me an extremely terrifying lesson. I was driving a black Jeep, traveling at a moderate pace on the Qinghai-Tibet Highway. Of course, I didn't hum the tune all the way, you know. Singing loudly or talking incessantly on the plateau can easily lead to altitude sickness. To say that the Qinghai-Tibet Highway, it is neither the new Tibet Highway new wave, all kinds of love to play big waves. There are a lot of ups and downs of the steep slopes. There is no Sichuan-Tibet North Line vicious, on both sides of the cliffs of fatal cliffs. One side of the upward, one side of the downward suspension, and then a 99 road bends. The friendship of the gift of a landslide. The Tibetan route is relatively friendly, at least at first glance, and not much different from driving on the plains, except that it slowly rises and subtly adds altitude to your drive. The weather is unpredictable. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it snows, sometimes it's windy, and it can still leave you confused. I mean, the ability to fog up your car, because the car would dive headfirst into the fog, and then have water all over the windshield. My car and I, at dusk, plunged headfirst into such a dense fog. The more I drove, the lower the visibility became. Even with the fog lights on, the visibility was quite touching. You know, on the plateau, night falls quickly. If you can see the sunset, you can clearly watch the speed at which the sun sets with the naked eye. And today, I witnessed the sunset. With the surrounding light disappearing rapidly, my car plunged into a large mass of dark fog, and this fog seemed to have weight. Perhaps it was a psychological effect, but I always felt like my car was being held by some intangible force. At this moment, the visibility ahead was not only particularly low, but the trajectory of the car lights seemed to be absorbed quickly, not illuminating much distance. That is to say, if a car rushed out from the opposite direction, by the time we could see each other's headlights, the two cars should be no more than 20 meters apart. It was already pitch black, and this distance became even shorter. I couldn't continue driving, so I had to turn on the hazard lights and park the car as close to the side of the road as possible. I got out of the car and lit a cigarette. I glanced around, and the darkness was somewhat eerie. It was not only particularly dark, with nothing visible, but also felt sticky and as if it had a sense of weight. I thought to myself, I'll wait until this mass of dark fog passes before driving again. I stepped off the roadbed and walked a few steps forward, seeing nothing, although I couldn't see. I had driven on the Qinghai-Tibet line before and knew that the soft feeling underfoot was the thick grasslands on both sides of the highway. I took a leak and shivered. Then I saw ahead. Not sure if it was 100 meters or 200 meters away, an extremely faint point of blue light, flickering on and off. It must have been a household or a yacht, right? I walked towards this faint light for about 10 meters, 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow, and then I tripped and fell. When I stood up again, the light was gone. Forget it, I'll just stay in the car. As I turned to look back, I was filled with horror, because my car was completely invisible too. But I distinctly remembered that I had the hazard lights on. It was at this moment that I began to feel fear. I don't believe in ghosts or deities, and naturally, I'm not afraid of them. Even in the pitch dark, I wouldn't be frightened by channels like ghosts or deities. But at this very moment, I truly felt fear. Because when I looked up at the sky, it was dead black, and I couldn't see anything. When I looked down at the ground, it was equally dead black, and I couldn't see anything. Looking back in the direction of the blue light, it was pitch black. Looking back at the direction of the car, it was pitch black too. In other words, at this moment, it felt like all the light in the world had been completely devoured. Not only that, but there was not a trace of wind or a sound at this time. The whole world was not only pitch black, but also dead silent. It was as if I had suddenly been thrown into another dimension. The most terrifying question was, where was my car? Where was my car with the hazard lights on? It couldn't have just vanished into thin air. Even if I had encountered aliens, there are so many luxury cars on the streets of Beijing, Tokyo, New York, and Paris. They wouldn't have taken an interest in my old Jeep. Alright, even if I were to revise my worldview and suspect that I had encountered a tale from Liaozai, which blind fox demon would choose to come out in all its heavy makeup and meet me in a place at 5,000 meters altitude, where not even birds poop. Relying on wild thoughts wouldn't save myself. Calming down, I knew that no matter what happened, I couldn't just spin in place or move about recklessly. I took a deep breath and stretched out my left hand. It was truly pitch black. I took out my lighter with my right hand, lit it, and then stretched out my left hand again, finding it almost as if I couldn't see my fingers in front of my face. I realized that it wasn't that my car had vanished into thin air, but rather that I had only walked more than 20 meters and couldn't see the car lights anymore. My goodness, what a quality darkness this was. Gritting my teeth, I cursed, "This is too dark." I carefully recalled the direction I had walked after getting out of the car, and judged the direction of the roadbed, which was also the direction of my car. With a clenched jaw, I went. I walked at an extremely slow pace for a while, then suddenly my foot felt higher, and I explored with another step. A wave of joy surged in my heart, and I thanked the Buddha, Jesus Christ, the Jade Emperor, the Monkey King, and Pu Songling, all in one breath. Because I finally found the roadbed, judging by the direction, the car should be on my left. I looked to the left and didn't see any headlights. Then I looked to the right and finally saw the extremely faint taillights. My goodness, it's terrifying to think about. I had only walked more than 20 meters in the incredibly dark, pitch black space, and I had strayed so far off course, back in the car. With the door closed, I kissed my steering wheel for the first time. Calm down. I was still very surprised. What kind of darkness was this? I've seen dark, but not this dark. Just 20 meters away, with no solid obstructions, and I couldn't see the car lights. I sat in the car for over 2 hours, waiting until I slowly saw my headlights beams gradually extending forward. In other words, this mass of dark fog was slowly dissipating. It was time to drive. Just a few minutes after setting off, I looked up at the sky again, and there were countless stars. It truly made one feel as if they had been transported to another world. a mystery beyond comprehension. I've since Googled it to figure out what I was experiencing first. It could have been a big, dense pile of fog, or it could have been a large cloud that grazed the highway and slowly swept by. There's also the possibility that I'm experiencing a natural phenomenon anyway, not having experienced that kind of darkness without any light, and the sudden disappearance of vehicles. Beyond conventional knowledge, it would really feel very scary. So, it's still unforgettable.